No.
Actually,
Hi,
how
everybody. Yeah, okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Bonnie Barker, and today I am having a Zoom meeting with my friend Jennifer Ryan. Jennifer Ryan is in Manchester, New Hampshire. I am in South Carolina right now, but I'm usually in Gaithersburg, Maryland. But anywho, we're just going to have a little chat, a little interview back and forth, and we thought you might want to listen in. And thanks for joining us, if you're joining us.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off, and Jennifer and I have been friends for several years now. And I'm going to go ahead and start this back and forth interview. Tell us how we met, Jennifer.
So, I don't remember. I think it was 2012. That's what I'm guessing. But
Yeah, I think you're right.
And
Yes.
we were at a Crochet Guild of America conference and it was the first day for all the professionals, and there were several people in the room. And wouldn't you know, we sat next to each other at the table where you could just sit wherever you wanted. At our table of, I think, 10 or 8, you and I sat next to each other. And then I just remember we chit-chatted a little bit, but then quickly things got started, and they had all these balls of yarn on the table and some free hooks, and said, hey, while you're listening today, crochet a square. And I remember I took notes. So I was like, I can't take notes and crochet. I want to just absorb everything. But you crocheted a square with this complicated cable, like that. And I was like, wow.
I don't even remember what I did, but.
Oh yeah, I remember you were just like, okay, done. In like less than an hour, your beautiful square was done. And I thought, oh, cool. But then from there, we talked in the breaks and stuff, and I remember walking through the hallways looking for lunch with you, talking about how, we were both homeschooling moms, we both loved music, and of course we both loved Ireland and Irish style crochet, and we had so much in common. So that's what I remember about meeting you.
Well, I made some notes here because I did not trust my brain.
I make notes too.
I didn't remember that. My brain is very selective, but I remember, I think, seeing you even before we met from a distance. I remember you walking in, and my mom, hope this isn't too creepy for you. I wasn't stalking you or anything, but I see this sweet, tall, young, thin lady walking in the door with her rolling little briefcase.
Yep.
And she had a little green Celtic knot, intricately woven and somehow attached or glued to her bag there. And I thought, I've never seen that before. That's interesting. We've got to talk. And that was, I don't know if I purposely sat next to you or how it all happened. I don't know if I'm just saying, I don't know if I was stalking you or not, but I am really, really glad that we had a chance to talk, because normally, if I see something impressive like that in what you were wearing, I normally, my first response would be to be intimidated and be a little shy to approach somebody. It's like, standing in awe, of something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else out there can relate to that, but if someone's like super talented, you're just kind of like, oh wow, I really want to talk to them, but I'm not so sure.
Right. Yeah.
But I was really glad that we sat next to each other, and then, finding out all the things that we had in common. It was almost like, twins separated at birth. Well, not really, but by about, 10 or 15 years as well. But anyway, just that was cool. And when I found out you were a homeschooler and we both love the Lord, and I was just like,
yes,
okay, yeah, I got to
know.
get your number, and here's mine. So,
Totally.
yeah, yes, it's been a blessing to me.
You still had kids at home that you were homeschooling.
Yes, ma'am. That would have been 2012.
8 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would have still had 4 children at home. My oldest had graduated. Wait a minute. Caleb graduated 2011, 2012. It would have been the same year Caleb graduated. So I would have had 3 children still in homeschool at that point, having graduated 2.
Yeah, I
So
remember because mine, of course, were considerably younger, but we were both in the trenches
in the
with
trenches,
homeschooling for a little overlap there.
like, what were we thinking, right? And the answer to that is we weren't.
Exactly. Well,
No, I'm
that's
kidding.
what
We were trusting.
we were thinking at the conference. That was our creative outlet time
Yeah.
where we could
Yep.
not have to
That
think
was
about.
my vacation. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That was that was vacation away from wonderfully crazy, beautiful life. But it's just to be able to pull away with just other ladies and people that are who crochet. And that's what I always tell people. You get a chance to just attend one. I know they can be pricey if you're having to spend money for a hotel and travel, but
Mm-hmm.
if you do it once, no pun intended, you will be hooked.
Look.
So, yes, yes,
Totally.
you will be hooked.
All right.
Yes,
I'll
terribly.
I'll ask the next question. Number 2,
Okay.
how has your friendship grown over the years?
Ah, um, I think it's been great. I think through email,
Yep.
um, sharing the love of music and all things parody crochet songs, and Ireland, having a passion for the country of Ireland and the things of Ireland, like we both like Irish music. Your family's into Irish dance.
Yep.
I love to play Irish whistles, flutes, things of that nature. And we've both been to Ireland.
Yes.
So, and we can relate to each other, and also having, sharing the same faith, and,
Yep.
and all of that. Yeah. And then just sharing our ups and our downs with each other, again, through long distance email. I still have that little heart that you made me on my windowsill by my kitchen. Let me mute that. I'm getting a ding from somewhere.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
too. I
found it.
had mine turned over.
And so just when my mom passed away, you sent me the little heart
Mhm.
and the little message there. And I've had that up on my windowsill just to remind me. So that's been great. Just knowing that people are caring for you and praying for you, even though you're not, physically together.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah, and I think too.
hold on.
Yeah.
I muted you. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
That was not a good move. I was trying to silence the dings coming in from email, but anyway, it is what it is.
Sometimes as a mom, it would be nice to have a mute button.
Oh, yeah, just kind of like with the little control.
Can
Yeah.
I-
Beep. Yeah. I'm turning this one off. Boop.
Well, I would
Don't print that, Jackie.
add to that, and we'll talk about it another question, but when we planned that special event together, that was a great
Yeah.
way that I think our friendship grew. And then, yeah, with texting too, because
Yeah.
email's neat and you can like do a long thing quickly, but
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
text is nice, just a check-in day to day. And I think,
Yeah.
even though we're both crochet designers and that's how a lot of people know us, we relate to each
Mhm.
other as, friends, because we're also
Yes.
both
Yeah.
moms and wives and
Yeah.
homeschooling
Yeah.
lifestyle, and on top of all the other stuff that people know.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would add to it.
Yeah. That's great. When did you both discover you had a love for Irish-inspired crochet designs? And when did the Irish culture in your crochet world collide?
Well, I've always loved Irish stuff, always, even, I mean, as long as I can remember. And I went to Ireland when I was in either, I think, a freshman in high school or just before high school. We went with my family for a couple days. Um, but there was always something about our family that we just always loved Irish music and Ireland and the scenery. But then fast forward several years, once I went to my first professional development day with the Crochet Guild with CGOA, they
Mhm.
recommended that you do something with your crocheting that's unique. And I had already bought a couple books on how to weave Celtic knots before that. And I always wanted to like sit down with the books and really learn how to do it. And I thought, well, this is my opportunity. I'll practice some more with those knots and then I'll figure out how to combine it with crochet so
Wow.
it stands out and it's different than what other people have. So I did that and sent off some ideas to a magazine and they took one of them. And at the same time, I also decided to start my own website. And I thought, well, I'll just try it. Celtic knot crochet. And
Yeah.
the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is cool. I guess mine coming in with Ireland came later. But when it was in the late 70s, early 80s. Actually, it was the late 70s. I found a leaflet by a woman named Annie Ough, O-U-G-H. That's how you spell her last name. And it was billed under the title Fisherman Crochet. And it was the first time that I'd ever seen anything like this. And I found it on the rack at the big box store called Zayre's, Z-A-Y-R-E. I remember I was a little kid in my car in Hialeah, Florida, and it was this old, huge department store. I don't even think they exist anymore, but I used to sit in the car and love to see at nighttime Z-A-Y-R-E, and then it would go flash, 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 you know, in these big, like, pink reddish neon lights. And I just remember being mesmerized by that. I know that has nothing to do with crochet, but that was the store. It was like a Kmart or a place like that. And I found, and there was another store I used to get stuff at called G.C. Murphy and Company. It's an old dime store. They had I mean, I promise you, I'm not as old as I sound when I say this, but it had a fountain, you know, where you could sit on a round stool and twirl around and, you know, Coke please, and have your hot dog and Coke or whatever. But anyway, it was old style kind of a store. And that's where I'll get my yarn. But I found this pattern at Zayre called Fisherman Crochet. And I was like, Eureka, I have found something. Because before then, I had been crocheting since I was 7. So I was pretty bored by the time I found this leaflet. And I was probably 17 or 18, around in there. And of course, I took it home and I learned how to do these Afghans and sweaters using these stitches that I had never seen anywhere else, ever, ever, ever. Either before then or since then, really. I mean, because for years, before, you know, YouTube and all the internet came about, I knew everything that was out there, or not that I knew everything, but I would always look at the books and magazines, and I've been subscribing to Crochet World since I knew it existed when I was probably 10 or 12.
Wow.
And so, I mean, and I enjoyed getting it back then, but even as a kid, I would get it. I could look at most of the things in it. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay, you know, because I've been crocheting for so long, and I had done a pile of ripple Afghans and, you know, granny square. I was just ready for something different. And so when I found out, it was just like, this is amazing. And I could figure out eventually how to do the stitches. And so I just started looking for more stuff like that. And there was nothing. And as far as the Irish connection on another completely separate track, I've always loved playing the flute, majored in music in college, and I heard some music by Michael Card, and it's called Star Kindler,
Yep.
beautiful music. Buy it. It's a great album. You'll
Oh,
love it.
we just saw him in concert a couple months ago, you know, before
Oh,
this happened. Yeah, he was
see,
up.
now you got me envious. I
Yeah,
saw him.
we got to talk to him and
Yeah, I
he
saw him in concert
awesome.
I saw him in concert in the late 80s. A couple of times actually, but in South Carolina, and I think I guess it was South Carolina,
That's
but
around when I found out about him, was like
really,
right around 1989, 90.
yeah. Well, on that album, he plays a whistle. And that's when I found out about the Irish whistle. And then after that, okay, I had to get one. I got a couple, and learned to play them just by listening to music and imitating it. right alongside, just played, and, you know, just really loved playing that instrument, and was really, anyway, so really got into that. And then they kind of came together, you know, my love of music, the love of crochet, and it all kind of collided it with Ireland. And then 2012, my husband came home one night and said, I have a business trip that I need to go on, and I want you to come with me. And I'm like, oh, where, you know? And back then I didn't even know what a bucket list was, because I didn't have one. When you're, you know, in the trenches raising 5 children, I'm trying to figure out how college is going to happen financially. You know, you don't have time to sit around and dream of where you want to travel. So he says, I want you to come with me, and the trip is in Dublin. I'm like Ireland? I mean, it's not like a Dublin, Pennsylvania, is it? No, it's Ireland. So I'm like, okay, you know. So I would have dreamt, I never even dared to dream of being able to go. But by then I knew that that was the inspiration of the Aran fisherman style crochet that I've been doing for probably 10 or 15 years at that point. So anyway, that's the long story, I guess. But being able to go there just was so inspirational, and that's what led to my first book, Contemporary Celtic Crochet. It was amazing. So
I agree. I love it there.
what is your favorite thing about teaching?
Well, I've been a teacher ever since I was a girl, but as far as crochet goes, because I teach so many other things, and so many all ages, but for crochet, um, I think watching a student get it, and just how their whole attitude, demeanor lights up when they're figuring it out, and then they get confidence, and then they're so pleased when their project is turning out like it's supposed to, and they love it. I love that. And a lot of my crochet classes, after I'm teaching them the technique, and I often bounce around and I'm over their shoulder helping them, but sometimes we just sit and all crochet together, and I love asking them questions and getting to know them. And I have some students now that I've had for almost that 10 years, maybe 8 years. Some of my students come back, maybe not every class, every year. They might have to take a little break here and there, but we've kept up. And it's really nice to know people through crochet with that. And then a lot of them, that's their form of therapy and their break, their me time, because they work full time, or they're taking care of aging parents, or they're busy with their own children, and they have a night out to learn a new skill, learn how to crochet and de-stress. So that's part of probably what I enjoy the most, is the people and watching them be successful at crochet. How about you, Bonnie?
I pretty much dittos. I mean, just that, yeah, the light bulb going on, and I think people realizing I can do this. And that's even though I'm not teaching in person so much anymore, just because of, you know, right now we're under the pandemic, and but just being able to teach on YouTube, because I've loved teaching even before I went to school. I remember lining up my little dolls underneath this tent that I would make in my bedroom, and, you know, teaching them. I just love doing that. And so now it's on YouTube. I don't get to see the people, but just when people post things on my Facebook page or send them to me via email, like, they're amazed that they can do this, you know, and it just blesses me. It's because my not motto, but, you know, goal as a teacher is to empower people to believe that, yes, they can do this, and for them to just have the basic skills. And like the things that you do and the things that I do, the stitches basically are all based on the very fundamental stitches of what we do in crochet. You don't have to be able to, you know, be an acrobat, stand on your hand, you know, chew gum and do some other, you know what I mean? Just
Right.
do impossible feats. They're based on the basic things.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to convince people is like, don't look at the whole project. Look at line by line, step by step and stitch by stitch. And you can do the basic stitch by stitches. Once you learn how to do this, you can have what I have here.
Yeah.
And people have believed me enough to give it a try, and making mistakes is perfectly fine. There's lots more yarn out there. You can try again, or you can rip it out and do it again. You don't have to, it's not permanent ink,
Yeah.
just rip it out and try it again. And so I love it when people show me I can do what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, my goal is to work myself out of a job here,
Well,
so
but we'll never
everybody else can
run out
do.
of ideas.
Yeah, I haven't run out. I'm gonna have to live at least 3 lifetimes before I get all the ideas in my current notebook completed. So I think I'm good.
I think me too.
Yeah, I need at least 3 lifetimes, God. Did you hear that? So,
I'm hoping there's crochet in heaven.
oh, I'm sure there is.
We can work with our
It,
be
and
creative.
no ripping out. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
What is one of your favorite tips that you love to share in your classes that helps students really understand your style of crochet, or love to share in your video?
I think the main tip that I try to convey, maybe not in every video, but what I just said is don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like Miss Frizzler used to say on Magic School Bus videos I used to watch with my kids.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes, get messy, have fun. And it's by making mistakes that we actually learn. Um, I don't remember the questions I got right when I was in biology in 9th grade. And I guessed at the answers and I got the answer right. I don't remember those, but the ones that I missed with the big red X's on it, I can remember some of those. I still remember it. And there's something imprinting on my brain about having to relearn something or to be corrected on something. And while some people fear that, I think we really should embrace it if we're going to learn. And, that's why I tell people say, oh, I made this mistake, or I did something wrong here. And I'm like, well, you have 2 choices. You can rip it out and try again, or just keep going and we can just correct it on the next. I mean, it's okay if there are mistakes. It's okay. I've never made a perfect thing yet.
Nope, me
So.
neither. Answer, I would say something similar to just relax, because a lot of times my students are so, it has to look exactly like mine or
Mhm.
what the picture is, and I'm always telling them, don't rip out, just keep it like it is. I can help you fix it, or it's not going to show, and just keep going
Yeah.
and relax, because they get so
Yes.
tense sometimes, and then they're ripping it out, and then they get frustrated and want to give up. And I
Yes.
just keep going. And I have one student who everything she does, she just comes with her scrap stash yarn and just does, either if it's just like a little project, she just does the whole thing with the scrap yarn as her practice. And then she says, later this week, once I get the hang of it in class, I'll go home and do it with the right yarn and move on.
Wow.
So
That's a great idea.
yeah, definitely relax. It's supposed to be
Yeah.
relaxing. It's supposed to be a
Yeah.
hobby that refreshes you. So that's
Do,
what I tell my students.
do you think, because I know can be an extreme competitiveness sometimes, that everything has to be perfect. Do you think that's part of like this perfection syndrome out there? Or I just wonder, I just curious where that might be coming from, because, sometimes I want everything to be perfect, but, I've crocheted long enough to where I can, hey, I can leave that mistake in there because this is just a swatch, or,
Yeah, not if
experimenting.
we're sending it into Jackie.
It's right. If we're sending it into Jackie, it's got to be perfect.
That's
Whereas,
what I wanted to
yeah,
be perfect. But
yeah,
any other time, yeah,
yeah,
I do all I can to save
yeah,
time, and if there is a
yeah,
little mistake, I'll fix it, but I won't. I try not to
right.
rip out. And
Yeah,
then
in the principle, the principle about not worrying about mistakes. I'm not talking about, publication. We're not talking about things that we're going to send in, for Jackie and company. No. we want to give our best there, but it's because of many, many, many times practicing and just experimenting and making lots of mistakes that makes you better.
Right.
Yeah,
I love
but
your point about
yeah,
you learn a lot from your mistakes, and I
yeah.
would agree.
It's just a learning process. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to say one thing. One of my favorite people musically in this world is a man named Bob Coughlin, who used to be one of our pastors at our church. And I had the privilege of playing in one of couple many times playing with his band, or with him at weddings and stuff like that. And one thing he used to say is, don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong.
Huh.
So, I've taken that to heart, and it doesn't just apply to music, but I think it applies to crochet too. So that when we send our things in, hopefully we're to the point where we can't get it wrong. But when we're learning, we didn't start there. That's where you end up after many, many, many hours.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, and really, you won't. The whole point is, if you don't do it, you'll never make a mistake. So it's better to just start
Right.
and do it.
Yeah.
And learn from the mistakes, and
Yeah.
accept that it's part of the process, and then just move on. That's fine. No big.
Yeah. Yeah. A real quick story. I know I'm taking over here, but I finished my first lace scarf with knitting this past week, and this was an interesting project because I had to put it in timeout several times, and so it took me a while to get this one done, because I would just get mad at it, and I'm like, I'm not talking to you. I am not talking to you for a while. But I eventually did finish it, and I could point out several mistakes in it that anybody could probably see. But I could have gone back and ripped it out and done it again. Like, no, I'm just going to leave them in. This is my first lace scarf, and I even messed up on the color sequence. And once I did that, and I'd gone 2 stripes further, and I'm like, oh no. And I had ripped out some, and I'm not doing that again. So I decided, okay, where that color change is wrong, that's the center of the scarf. So now I'm going to make everything symmetrical. So I made it good, but it's a mistake. And there are knitting mistakes there as well. I had to add stitches in because I had lost the stitch somewhere.
But who's gonna know?
Hey. But I learned a ton from the journey. I learned my next one's going to be better.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect either. I'm going to watch the colors better. But it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be better next time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What was one of your earliest designs?
I'm trying to figure out, I remember my first project or two. Earliest designs. Well, I'll tell you a story. I wanted to make some of my very own Celtic crochet pullover sweaters, and not having all the fabulous yarn that is now available to us, and only having, this is before the internet, okay, before the internet was a thing. And I just thought, oh, I want to make it out of cotton. So I bought a couple of these big spools of the pound of cotton in worsted weight, and I made a very heavily Celtic crochet cabled sweater.
Cotton.
This thing is 10 pounds. I mean, it's like wearing a weighted blanket. So I've learned, and people say, oh, I want to make this out of cotton. And I'm like, worsted? No, bulky weight. And I'm like, do you know what you're going to end up with? And if that thing ever gets into a washing machine, you might as well call the Maytag man and have him bring you another machine, because it's going to break it. It's going to be so heavy in there. So that would be my biggest design flaw, was picking the wrong yarn fiber.
Well, it doesn't have to be a flaw, just one of your earliest designs. But yes, if it's early, mine aren't perfect either. I mean, that just reminded me, I used to knit more when I was younger, and I made lots of gifts for my family members, and I made knitted ties, but it was my own design. I did a basket weave stitch, knit and purl um,
Mm-hmm.
for a tie for my grandfather and my dad. And I
Mm-hmm.
just went along an actual tie and just did the decreases and matched the fabric tie. So I knew it was the right length and the right width. But,
Uh-huh.
and I used acrylic yarn, and they wore it. They were so nice. But
Really?
within a year, it turned into like a tie belt combo because it was so long that they would put the tail in their shirt and then it would
Uh-huh.
wrap around their
Oh,
waist
wow.
because it
God
kept
bless them. They must have
stretching.
loved you.
It kept stretching and stretching. Um, but they still wore it, which was nice. But I was going to show
Wow.
you one of my first designs was I said I made clothes for my puppets. Can you see it? It's
Oh,
bleached
yeah.
out because it's white. It's a shirt
Uh-huh.
and a skirt.
Oh,
And I probably made these when I was like 9 or 10, and then I sewed on some of my mom's gold
yeah.
trim, and
That's
then,
beautiful.
and I even made like this white skirt with
Oh,
some of my mom's craft stash stuff.
I don't know, Jennifer, you might start a new trend again, the way things are these days with, yeah, that's so cute. I
I got,
remember how I was going to answer this question now, but I can't show you because it's in Maryland.
oh,
We
well,
talked
you'll have to
about it.
send me a picture.
I will. I'll tell you. I'll just let everybody wonder what I'm talking about, but I'll have to do a video just on that design because but it's not my design. It was one I did out of a magazine. So
All right,
yeah.
well, you ask me the next question.
Okay, let me get my old handy dandy. Okay, what's your biggest mess up while teaching or while designing?
So I can answer that easily. Well, like I said, I've taught lots of different things. So this actually happened when I was teaching crochet, but also mosaics, because that's another craft I like to do. And I was pregnant with my third child at the time, so that's why my brain was a little woohoo. And um, I I got to class and I discovered that I had forgotten we were going to make mosaics on picture frames, and I had forgotten all of them. So there was nothing for the students to work on. And I lived 20 minutes from the class, and I called my husband in between the two classes and said, "Can you bring those to me? I know exactly where they are." And he was going to, but then it turned out that the kids were so little that I had the car with the car seats. So he couldn't drive anywhere with them to bring them to
Oh,
me. So I had to apologize profusely to the 12. I had a big class, maybe 12, 14 students, and give them the option of doing another class in the future, just tacking one on the end and doing it next week. And yep, oops.
wow.
But
Yeah.
and then I've also there was one design I sent in to Annie's that was not the right size, and I had to redo it.
Uh-oh.
So learned from that one too. Yeah.
Yeah. But
But
I did remember one story. I didn't think I had anything for this. I mean, I have made plenty of mistakes in all areas, but I do remember when I was substitute teaching at a local elementary school, I had taken a long-term sub job. This is after all the kids had graduated, and it was teaching music. So I saw just about everybody in the school at some point, during the week. And I thought, oh, well, I have all this time, like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours between my study and my lunch break on this particular day of the week. And instead of I mean, I could have filled it with stuff, but I thought that'd be fun to teach the kids a crochet class. So I advertised, people asked just the sixth grade classes. And I figured, I might get 5 or 6 people interested. Um, it turned out to be like 18 to 20.
wow.
So I thought,
And
oh, no
no,
problem.
yeah,
Now if it's 18 to 20 people who are seasoned crocheters and they're just going to learn cables, that's one thing. But I'm talking,
brand
they
new.
didn't know what to do with the yarn or the hook, and they all showed up. And so I had materials for everybody. So I thought, okay, let's dive in. And eventually, you know, some people did learn, but I learned from that time that limit the beginners for one thing, but we all did have fun together. But the thing I learned is that if you're going to teach people how to crochet, take as much time as possible before they even make their first stitch to show them how to hold the yarn in their non-dominant hand.
Yeah.
Um, and I see people who've been crocheting for decades who still have the weirdest
Mm-hmm.
yarn hold, and that's fine if it's working for them. But for you know, just if I had taken time to teach them better and insisting on my own way, that they learn it a particular way, I think I would have had more success.
I spend probably half an hour on that in my classes because every year I teach
Yeah,
people from nothing, and that's the biggest thing. And I
yeah.
tell them if you skip this step, you'll regret it later because
Oh,
then you won't be able to crochet as fast. Your tension will
yeah,
be off. You'll have,
yeah,
cramping in your hands. So it's tedious and it's like muscle
it is.
memory, and your brain has to figure it out. But it's well worth investing now
Yeah,
for great gains later. So I
yeah. I
agree.
tell them it's like nothing at this point when you have this yarn in a certain way. It's like nothing is going to feel natural about it, no matter what you do. So learn it the right way,
Right.
and you know you can pay now, or you can pay later. And what
Exactly.
I
Credit
found is,
cards.
yeah, from that group, there was a small group of maybe 5 or 6. You know, whenever you teach a group, there's going to be an attrition rate. People that were just never meant to be crocheters, and
Right.
I'm like, Grace, that's fine. You know, find something else. Pick up a paintbrush or sewing machine. You know, find something that you love and do it. You know, it's okay if it's not this, but you know, do it learn to hold the yarn the right way. And the ones who did learn and listen and take the time to do that, they were zooming. They were zooming on crochet. No pun intended with the
Yeah.
zoom here. Using it as a verb, but you know it
Yep,
anyway.
I
So,
agree.
um, ooh, this could be an interesting. What does a typical day look like? You can
Um,
laugh first. Ha ha ha.
yeah, typical. Well,
Typical.
during the school year for me, it's wake up, um, get the house moving, get my girls doing schoolwork until lunchtime. And then in the afternoon, it's either taking them to activities or having everybody has some downtime and I can get some crocheting done or housework done or house projects. And then most evenings, if we're not out at an activity, which is right now not much at all, but there's still not a lot, then it's spending time together as a family. And sometimes I can crochet at the same time that we're doing that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then sometimes it's in the evenings is doing some crochet work. But that's a typical school year day for me. Summers, totally different.
Totally different.
Every day's
Yeah.
different and every day, but every day feels the same. But yes, because
Yeah.
I'm a stay-at-home mom, work from home, there's a lot that goes on and there's a lot of
Yeah.
juggling that we have to do here. But yeah, how
I,
about you?
I, I honestly I honestly don't know how you do it all. Anyway, because you've been doing it with your kids being younger, so you're in addition, plus doing all the shows that you help with the homeschool co-op and drama group, musical group and stuff. And
I have a lot of help.
yes, yes, yeah. For me, it's an interesting season I'm in because for many years now, being a retired homeschool mom, um, it's hard to get my brain around it, but there's been care, elder care has been a big part of, you know, where my life has to kind of revolve around that to some extent. And it's been for the most part a very joyful kind of a thing to do. And it's where God has me right now. And it's been a good thing. I just have a piece that this is what I'm supposed to be doing and this is where I'm supposed to be. The only downside to it is that currently with the COVID-19 thing and I'm geographically removed from my wonderful husband. who's about 500 miles away from me in our Maryland home. But he comes down when he can, and I take trips. I used to fly back and forth. Of course, that's out now, temporarily. But hopefully once things, get better, I'll be able to do that. But when I'm here in South Carolina, getting up pretty regularly, your usual shower and all that, and then helping my mother-in-law, get ready for her day, and having a nice breakfast together. I promise I won't go into too much detail. But then once I do that, I love to have a quiet time and do some reading of the scriptures, and then just to try to set my mind for the day, set the perspective, and from that point on, it's a whole host of other things, whatever I need to do regarding the crochet stuff. It's usually an hour or so of answering people's emails, Facebook questions, YouTube questions, and just kind of cleaning up the computer stuff and clearing the desk in a sense. And then digging into, it could be video editing. It could be recording upstairs for new projects. And then working, actually, crocheting at some point during the day. But usually I save the actual fun stuff for the evening, when I'm not doing anything else, because video editing, as you know, takes hours and hours. And then once you edit, then you have to upload and maybe create thumbnails, that the people are, that little picture that you're going to see to decide if you're going to click on it. That takes a lot of time to create those. And the list is endless on the business side. But I try to balance that with maybe getting outside if I can, go for a walk, or we have a stationary bike upstairs. If I can do some time on that, I should do that a lot more than I do. But yeah, and then usually that bumps into lunch, and which turns into supper, and then meal prep comes. You have to cook. I'm also the chief bottle washer and cook in the household. So but in both households, whether it's Maryland or South Carolina, so busy about that, or doing laundry, whatever, all the normal stuff that everybody else does, shopping, whatever, maybe. It's just, yeah, it's a bucket that you just can't fill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, there's a lot, but it's a good work. It's a lot of great things, and yeah.
That's good. All right, next question. What is your most special crochet gift that you've been given?
That's easy. I didn't have to think about that. My friend that I grew up with, Becky, that my daughter is named in memory of, she gave me a beautiful, multicolored, I wish I had it to show you, but it's in Maryland, beautiful Afghan, for my wedding gift. And when the last time, let's see, when she gave it to me, it was the night after, the time after my, I'm losing vocabulary here, my rehearsal dinner for my wedding. And that was the first time that I had seen her in years. She moved away when we were in 8th grade, and we kept in touch by something called writing letters and putting a stamp on it and mailing it off. We did that for many years, and then I didn't get to see her again until I was a freshman in college, and the band that I was with traveled to her state and near her city, and she came to meet me. I saw her then for an evening of pizza, and then the next time I saw her was at my wedding, and she gave me this Afghan. And that was the last time I ever saw her.
Wow.
So this means a ton to me.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. She made it when she was a single mom at this point, and she had 2 little rambunctious boys to care for. And she was also babysitting her brothers and her sister's children at the same time. How this woman managed to make this gorgeous Afghan, I mean, that just humbles me.
Yeah.
That with all she had going on, she was thinking of her friend, you know, whom she hadn't seen in years. So anyway, that's
really special.
it's going to be really hard to top that.
Yeah.
in my life. In my life. I mean, that's it. That's the crown jewel.
That's awesome. Two years ago, I have a design up on YouTube and on my blog called the Crystal Mandala Sparkle, something like that. And
Okay.
it's similar to this one here, except it's stretched out over the ring and it has a bunch of beads hanging down. And so I have all how to do it on YouTube. And what happened was at the time she was 9, my youngest daughter watched the YouTube video in secret, raided my yarn stash and bead stash in secret, and made the whole thing by herself and gave it to me for my birthday. And it's beautiful. And she did it. I didn't help her with any of it. So it's actually a really nice little pat on the back for me that a 9-year-old could watch my video and do it, because it's not an easy pattern. But it was so sweet that she did all that without me knowing and without needing my help, and she knew I would really appreciate it. So
this is your middle child?
The youngest. So she was
the
9.
youngest.
Yeah, she's 11 now, but she was 9 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's a puff stitch in there. I think there's a decrease. There's a whole bunch of not easy stitches in there, but she knew I would love it, and I did. I was so surprised. I couldn't believe. I knew she was making me something, but I had no idea that it was one of my designs, but totally on her own with my YouTube video. So
that says a lot about your teaching skills on YouTube. So everybody check out the YouTube video. Put a little index thing on
a little
there.
link. Yeah, I
so
can do that. And
can
my other daughters have made me things and crocheted me things too.
Fantastic.
Anytime somebody makes something for me, I really appreciate it, because I know how much love and time goes into that. But yeah.
Yes.